that some Native American tribes had people that would be considered trans today, something that we can't fact check because they're dead.
It's
right?
Historical knowledge.
It's historical
documented.
knowledge that there were trans Native Americans.
Yes.
I really don't think that's historical knowledge, but here's what I'll answer. I don't think that there were trans Native Americans.
So if you could educate yourself a little more, you would know that.
Okay.
As well.
I will educate myself. I will educate myself on the trans Native American.
Here, connecting people with policy, y'all. Before we begin today's video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you're notified whenever I, Uduak, post a new video. Make sure you follow me on my social media, y'all. So, as y'all already know, we are on the road to 5K. So, with that being said, you're probably thinking, what does that mean? Road to 5K? That means to press that subscribe button. Yes, press it before November 12th, please, because by my birthday, I really want 5K subscribers. By the name of Jesus, thank you, Lord. And go ahead and follow me on my social media, too, because 5K, we gotta hit it. We gotta hit it. So, with that being said, y'all, we're going to watch TPUSA. This is a second part of Candace Owens' live from Georgia Tech. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't going to do this because I already did the first one, but this was brought to my radar, so I was just like, okay, let me just do it again. Because the first one, I pretty much y'all already know my opinion. I just don't like when people ask questions looking for a reaction. So some of them had really good questions, not gonna lie. Candace, she just seemed annoyed with the ongoing repetition of questions and stuff. So with this, I'm hoping, this is actually my first time seeing it. So live reaction. So with this, I'm hoping we'll have some more questions with a little bit more substance, but you never know. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get straight into the video.
As many questions as possible. Try to ask your question in 15 seconds or less, or we're going to have to cut it off because it's just not fair because we only have a limited amount of time to get to everybody.
Yeah, because last time they were just saying their whole autobiography.
Love your sweatshirt.
I said, baby, what's the question? They're not going to go through all those questions, but it's worth a
all
try.
right. Up first, how are you?
Hi, Candace.
Hi.
My name's Faith. Today my question is, well, first I want to say thank you for all you're doing for the conservative movement. But today my question is, what advice could you give me as a young conservative to stay informed and to keep my conservative values when I'm constantly surrounded by liberal ideology?
Yeah, I think the greatest thing that you can do is to first off, obviously follow conservative thinkers, and I tell this to young women all the time. It is the most difficult time in your period. You're going to feel so lonely as a conservative on a college campus. I would have been someone that was anti-you when I was on a college campus, right? But the truth is that they say that if you're not a liberal when you're young, you don't have a heart. If you're not a conservative when you die, you don't have a brain. You're getting older. You're going to start realizing that more and more people around you are going to become conservative because of natural life circumstances, right? Having a child, having a family, having real bills. The reason why people are leftist when they're young is because they don't have many responsibilities until you can dream, right? And a lot of leftist positions are dreams that don't really work when you try to fit it within the realm of reality. I would also really stress to you to find the people later in life who stuck with leftism and ask yourself a question, are they happy? These are the Chelsea Handlers who wrote books about their multiple abortions, the Sarah Silvermans, the people that outwardly talk about how they have to take Xanax and pills to get them through the day because they're fundamentally unhappy. Keep your eye on the prize and recognize that your future looks a lot brighter as a young conservative. So many more opportunities are going to come up for you. So thank you so much for your question.
Okay, I'm going to say this. Okay, so the problem that I have with questions and answers like that is that it keeps people in tunnel vision. Me, myself, as y'all know, who've been following me, I used to be very, very, very left, very left progressive to the point where I would look tunnel vision, anything people would do that were part of the left. I would turn a blind eye because I felt like it was my duty to always defend the Democratic Party. Mind you, in hindsight, I am still a registered Democrat, but now I see more of an independent lens. when you look at the people I follow people from both sides. I always follow people from different backgrounds and so forth, because it gives me different perspectives. So the only thing with that is, I'm not going to tell her how to answer her question, but I'm just saying, like, this just brought something up to me. I would never tell somebody that's a student to only follow people that agree with you, because me personally, I never learned from someone who agreed with me. I learned from a lot of Republicans who I've disagreed with, but I understood why they say the things they say or stand on the things they stand on, and a lot of Democrats as well. So it's like, for us to actually be the united nation that we proclaim that we want to be, we can't just stay on one side, or stay tunnel vision, or stay like, oh, liberal ideology with generalizations like that, because it honestly doesn't get us anywhere. That's the only thing I would say in regards to that. But
Hello.
Hi, my name is Rayleigh, and I just want to thank you for letting us ask questions and stuff. My question is, what do you hope to see from the next generation of young conservatives in terms of shaping the future of our country?
I have to say, I'm really proud, first and foremost, of the young conservatives. I just think that you guys are the bravest people in the world right now, and people don't realize what you go through on a day-to-day basis with everyone against you, your professors against you, the media against you. I think what I would like to see more of is just engagement in the political conversation. Like, I'm a big fan of seeing when there's young conservatives that have YouTube channels and they have their followings, and I think a lot of people don't realize the impact that they can have on a micro level, these micro influencers. It's one of the reasons why I really love Brett Cooper, who works with me at the Daily Wire. You know, you have someone who's Gen Z who just started talking about different ideas and garnered a huge following. If you guys aren't familiar with her, you should follow her. She's absolutely excellent. But I think not being fearful to speak out and starting your own platform, because there are so many people like you that are looking for voices, and the best way to do it is to just be the voice. So thank you so much.
that's true.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm wondering, there are dozens of words for two-spirited people, people that would now be considered LGBTQ or trans people in the native languages. So I'd like to know how, as these people have existed for thousands of years before you were alive or anyone else in this room was alive, and before anyone even colonized America, if trans people were around then, I'm just wondering why you think it is that trans people are only here now because the media is telling people these things.
Well,
I'm gonna pause it right there real quick. What is, y'all comment down below, because I don't know what that is. To me, it sounds demonic. What does two-spirited people mean? Like, is that two people in one? Because I know, yeah, y'all comment down below what that means, because I don't know what that means.
Do you think it's weird that I graduated with zero trans people? Do you think, what do you think has contributed to the explosion of transgender people from the time that I was in high school? I'll ask you a question back. If this was just a natural thing, and I don't know what you're talking about with two-spirit people, is this like a Native American tribe, like high, smoking, and talking about your spirit? I'm asking you seriously, because when I think of Native American tribes talking about their spirits, I know that they used to smoke a lot, they used to do drugs, they also were cannibals who used to eat people, so I don't know if we should be taking our cues from cannibals. But
I think
can you
that's
explain
kind
to me
of
what two-spirit
ridiculous.
is in the history?
There are people that would now be considered trans people, people that did not feel that they fit
What
the
part,
binary
though?
gender.
Native Americans? I'm asking you.
Yes, I'm telling you that not only in one Native American tribe, but in multiple tribes, there were dozens of terms that referred to people that would now be considered trans, and that was hundreds of years ago. So I'm just wondering why you think that people are only trans now because the media is telling them to be.
Well, I told you, because of the proliferation. So you can't just go from having 0% to suddenly 25%
Right, but what
of
I'm
people.
saying is that these people were around for thousands of years.
Well, what you're saying is that some Native American tribes had people that would be considered trans today,
People that
something that we
were
can't fact
trans.
check because they're dead,
It's
right?
historical knowledge.
It's historical
documented.
knowledge that there were trans Native Americans.
Yes.
I really don't think that's historical knowledge. But here's what I'll
Yeah.
answer. I don't think that there were
Well, I'm telling you
trans
that
Native
there
Americans.
were, so if you could educate yourself a little more, you would know that
Okay.
as well.
I will educate myself. I will educate myself on the
There's always
trans Native
tension.
Americans that were running around America. But here's what I'll say: Native Americans were also cannibals. Did you know that fact? Did you educate yourself on the
All
fact?
Native Americans were
So
cannibals?
should we just assume that it's natural for us to be eating humans because Native Americans were
I
cannibals?
really think that don't apply to what I'm asking at all.
It exactly applies to what you're asking. You're saying that you found a piece of historical knowledge, which I would genuinely love to fact check, that there were
Okay.
trans
Do you want some
Native
names?
Americans of their trans names. Yes,
Lozen, Datese, Hastinkla, Oshtish, Wehwa.
these were trans Native Americans.
Yes.
Okay, I think what you're saying is that they probably found some that they thought that they had different spirits, because we know that Native Americans were incredibly spiritual. There's no question
Are
about
you
that.
not
Which
spiritual? You believe in God?
is I do believe in God. Yes.
So
That doesn't make me believe in trans people. That doesn't make me believe that you can switch your parts. I don't believe they were performing surgeries, and you can let me know, but I don't believe that in Native American history they were performing surgeries trying to switch their genitals because they thought that they were born in the
there were
wrong
people
body.
that felt that they didn't belong in the binary
Feelings.
genders that we have.
Okay, so you're talking about somebody in the history of
Okay,
Native
this
American history had a feeling.
This discourse is going on a little bit too long. They're literally not getting anywhere. This is the first time me hearing it. I did not know about there being trans Native Americans, and I'm not saying that as if it's a given fact just because she said it, but I'm just saying as like a prompt. I never heard of that, but I will do research on that. I think what the young lady is saying, the college student is saying, that trans has always existed. It's just like they were never just called trans prior. They were probably called something different. And what Candace is saying is that trans started to exist at a certain point when media started getting more involved and people started getting more influence. That's caused the increase in individuals thinking that they were trans. So essentially they're just they're not even missing each other's point. They just disagree. So it's like, next question at this point.
That they were, and now you're saying that they're trans.
I'm just saying, I don't think you're really addressing what I'm asking. I'm saying that
I think
trans
I've addressed it
people
like
have been
20 times, and you're just not wanting to hear it because you want to believe that there were trans Native Americans that were chopping off their genitals. They weren't. But I'm, again, happy to educate myself and explore.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a Native American that was chopping off genitals. Happen to have in my family a Native American history, never heard of it, but I'm definitely happy to dive into it. I think what you're probably facing is a rewrite of history where they're taking something that was just an idea, of a spiritual idea, where people, and you see this today, who take ayahuasca, they have a trip, they go back, they say that they realize they were a man in a prior life. This is very common when people take drugs, which the Native Americans did, but again, they weren't chopping their dicks off. So no, this is a different thing that we're dealing with here. Next question.
Hello. So my question is also about trans people, because it's specifically about trans people competing in sports, because I think everyone here can agree we need to protect women's sports. So recently in Texas, there was a boy who won the girls wrestling state championship. Do you think that he should have been allowed to compete in that division?
I think that a man taking down a woman on a map should warrant a call to the police.
Wonderful.
And should not, of course, be considered a sport.
Because he was actually born female and forced to compete in that division despite being on HRT.
I am so open to transgender people. Like, if they want to have their own division, go for it. I literally, in fact, I would love to watch it. I actually would love to watch it. If you are opting in as a man, as a woman, to having a man take you down on a mat, that is totally fine for me. But what is unacceptable is that we have these divisions. This is for women, this is for men, and you have people that are allowing men to compete in these women's divisions and to obviously dominate, because going back to biology,
The audience thought that the young lady was on their side for a moment until she hit him with that wop wop wop. Sorry, y'all, this nail is like bothering me. Anyways, the audience thought that the young lady was on their side because the vast majority of audience members are conservative. I can tell. They thought that she was on her side until she flipped it and said that the example that she used, the person that was competing was originally born a woman and transitioned to a male and ended up beating the woman at that match. When it comes to trans in sports, I feel like if we need to build another category, then we should just do that at this point. But then again, I don't think the numbers of people who are trans competing in sports is that high to where we have even enough to build its own category. I just feel like with that, it's so like, it's such a complex answer, because it's like they can have their own league. Like it could be man, woman, and then trans woman, trans man, like to make it easier or whatever. But I don't know, bro. It's so much. Like, this is what happened. Let me stop.
Men, of course, are stronger than women. They are always going to be stronger and faster than women.
It's like how Leah Thomas went from getting second place in a race as a man to winning the race. You
Yeah,
cannot go
it's
from second to
completely
first.
unacceptable, and it's fraudulent, and the people...
Exactly. Going from second to first does not happen naturally. Yeah.
And so I think, going
Leah
from...
Thomas, the swimmer who came in second place in
as
the
a
men's
man,
Ivy
that's
League
right, yeah.
championships.
Yeah, and then he just switched his
And then-
gender and suddenly was dominating.
Went from second to first. As someone who competed in athletics in college and high school myself, no one ever goes from second place to first place.
Okay, so if you, Leah Thomas was not in second place when he was competing with men.
He absolutely was. If you look at the
No, he was
2019
not.
Ivy League
Riley
championships,
Gaines, no.
I literally
That is not
look
true.
at the statistics. Ivy League championships
That is
2019
not true.
men's
He
division
went-
in the 100 free for both the prelims and the finals. She
Okay,
came
let
in
me put it
second.
this way. Let's just, maybe there was one race that he came in second place
Ivy
in.
League championships
Fine.
is one
Okay,
race.
thumbs up. Riley Gaines, who has spoken about how she competed against Leah Thomas and it was not fair. Leah Thomas suddenly switching your gender, competing against women is not fair. I am
Of course,
open
if
to
you're
Leah
losing, you're going
Thomas.
to say it's not fair.
Don't ask me a question and then cut me off when I give you the answer. It's just obnoxious. It really is. I am open to Leah Thomas and every other trans person having their own category at the Olympics and allowing them to compete. That is absolutely fine. Having their own category at high school universities, at high schools, at universities, everywhere across the country, and being able to compete. What I am not open to are biological men competing against women. If you want evidence that biological men will always defeat women, look no further than the actual Olympics and look at the time differences as it is when men are competing in a sprint versus women competing in a sprint, when men are competing in a throw versus when women are competing in a throw. If you don't want to acknowledge biological reality, I want you to lead the trans Olympics. I want you to be the person that establishes the trans events for people. Thank you for your question. There's more people behind you.
Okay. I love that your solution is separate but equal.
What? So we already have a, what? Your solution is separate but equal? What are you talking about? We already have men and women divisions, so is that separate but equal? Next question.
Candace, my question's pretty short, but I got a lot of snowflake liberal friends wondering, are you ever going to apologize for any of your opinions? Or
No.
No.
Absolutely not. Thank you for your question.
That was his question. Are you ever gonna apologize?
Hi, Candace. My name is Angel. My question today is,
Oh,
why
you're so
are
pretty.
you in particularly so critical of the black community?
I'm not, actually. I'm glad that you brought that up. This is one of the media delusions about me. Any person that listens to my podcast daily, I would probably say that 80 to 90% of the topics that I cover are pertaining to white people in society. But when I cover a black person, a la Carly Russell or anybody else, or George Floyd, it just becomes news coverage everywhere, and it's posted on sites, and people think that it's all that I talk about. But if you listen to my podcast daily, you would not be under any delusions that I am an equal offender of idiocracy. Thank you.
Oh, I thought she was gonna ask a
I
follow-up.
was wondering, what is it like being married to a man as faithful and handsome as George Farmer?
Thank you.
Bro, my heart low-key dropped. I thought she was going to say something shady. Oh my gosh, my heart low-key dropped. I was like, what? What does it feel like being married to? I said, okay.
Thank you very much. I feel very blessed
Candace
in my
looked like
personal
her heart
life,
low-key
and I
dropped,
think it's
too.
one of the reasons that I am not fearful outside of my home. I always tell people that when you establish a home and your house is filled with love and you aspire towards a family and you follow things that yield happiness. Faith and family yield actual happiness. It makes you such a secure person, which is why it saddens me that so many women are being deluded to pursue the opposite. Men and women exist because they give each other security. I mean, my world got so much more quiet and so much more focused when I met George, and obviously he's much more silent than I, as English people tend to be, but he is really the rock behind every single thing that I do, and as are my children. They are the little rocks behind everything that I do, and I am so certain of the world that I want my kids to grow up in, and to have that grounding, to have that faith as a background, to have that family as a background. It really does make you impenetrable. Thank you for
that.
your
I agree with her. I agree 110% on her. Something that I noticed is like, there's something about having kids that brings out like a different innocence out of somebody, or a different level of joy and happiness. Because when we see Candace in the public light, a lot of us, we see dominant, we see standing 10 toes down, we see like, you know, a structured woman. So like right now, to see her her personality kind of like show out outside of like political scope or whatever, of her talking about her family and her kids, it's a beautiful light to see, because I feel like it humanizes her. Mind you, people who know, like, I'm not like the biggest Candace Owens fan, but I'm not like her worst enemy either. There's a lot of things that she's done that I just completely disagree with, but there's also a lot of things that she's done that I actually will give credit to. But like, just seeing her talk about her family, it humanizes her in a brighter light. The same thing with Ron DeSantis too. I don't like Ron DeSantis. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't like him as a governor, at least. He did an interview too, and he was talking about his kids and his family, and it's just like seeing people it just brings a different light out of it. So like when we maneuver in politics and we're pushing policies, it's about thinking about something that's bigger than yourself. It's like thinking about your kids, thinking about the people that have to walk after you. And I think right now, a lot of politicians from both sides of the aisle, they don't see it like that. Like, I think if everyone put their headspace in that scope of where you're thinking of, I want to build a society to where my kids and my kids' kids can live as stress-free as possible, then as in society, then I think we would be a lot farther out than where we currently are.
Question. Hello. Hi.
I'm like so excited to speak to you right now. So
She's so pretty.
You're so sweet.
however, so what can you say to those people who think the system is rigged?
Yeah.
Quote unquote rigged.
Yeah. I think what I would say to people that exist under that
She's
mentality,
really
that
pretty.
if you believe the system is rigged against you, the system will become rigged against you. If you see yourself as a victim every single day, you will become your own oppressor. There's no doubt about that. The reason why I think that I became so aspirational in life is because I knew that I could become whatever I wanted if I worked hard, right? So every single day I was willing to put in work, because I realized that there was never going to be more opportunity than me being a person that was born in America during this time. If you were born in America right now, you are amongst the most privileged people that have ever existed on the face of the planet.
Well, I agree with you. System is not rigged.
Thank you so much. Hello, sir.
Hello, just had a very quick question.
No worries.
First of all, I'm happy to be here. And second of all, I just had a question about like transgenderism. I was curious I just turned 18. If I was a consenting adult and I wanted to identify in a certain way, do you feel like that's something that should be interfered with? Or do you feel like because I'm an adult and I can do what I want, I can express how I want? Or do you feel like there still is a duty to kind of combat that in a sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Your question makes sense. So the first thing that I would say is I think that one thing that is mistaken is this idea that personally, if you want to identify as a fox every day and bark around Central Park, I don't care if you're not impacting me. It really, that doesn't, I would caution you against it as a friend. I think it's important when people are suffering from various mental disorders, as a friend, you should tell them this, your life isn't going to end very great if you keep following and pursuing this path. But as a person, as a passerby, I don't really care what somebody does if it doesn't impact me. I think the moment that transgenderism as an ideology became problematic is when they started insisting on it as something that's taught in the school system, as something that's being taught to children. This is when it really woke me up and turned me into a bear, because I will not allow my children to be intentionally confused by professors, right? Intentionally confused by teachers. So while I would caution you against it, it wouldn't really be my business unless you started demanding that I pretended you were a fox, right? And I think there's some trans people who understand that, like, stop making your delusions my responsibility. But others insist on it, where they just say, well, no, you need to pretend that you see a fox, and I don't, I don't see a fox. So that's what I would say.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That was a good question.
I want to say first off, thank you so much for coming. My question is, and I'm not here to campaign on behalf of Two-Spirit Native Americans, but in the area of debating culture wars, do you think that it really helps, like me, someone to decide, because I consider myself an independent, how to vote instead of talking about legitimate issues or policies that might affect me?
Sorry, can you do the first part of that question again? I think I missed it. Just restate the question.
I was just saying, does it behoove me as someone trying to decide which party to side with, how to vote, to talk more about cultural issues or cancel culture, things like that, or actual policy changes that would more directly affect me?
That's a very good question. I would probably say that all of it matters, honestly.
Yeah.
Andrew Breitbart used to say that politics was downstream from culture, and I think that that's very important in understanding how the two interplay off of each other. And it's something that I've understood, which is why I try to fight more in culture, because you realize that culture is impacting the policies. Just as an example, how many questions are we getting about transgenderism tonight, right? If you don't think that that's going to have a real world policy impact, it absolutely is, and it already is. It's having Department of Education impact, when we talk about these issues.
It's like
I would say for your
effect,
age, culture is probably really important. The policy issues are equally as important, so you sadly have to pay attention to both, because they're definitely interrelated, without question.
I guess just a follow-up kind of that. Does your forum, which is, I guess, tonight's speech was mostly about like issues in that nature, it wasn't specific policy, do you think that us debating transgenderism for half hour is really going to affect more policy than actual changes in Georgia that are voted on by what is a conservative House?
Here's what I would say. I think personally that the transgendered issue is the single most important cultural debate that we could possibly be having right now, and that's because I'm
gonna say this. That young man right here, that is a perfect example of asking questions with substance. And I'm not just being biased because he's independent, but it's just like, it sounds like he actually wants answers and he's actually trying to get somewhere. Me personally, how I would answer it is that it's very important that you interlude the two when you're voting, when you're casting your ballot or whatever. Like, you have to take in both accounts of policy and culture, and seeing like how it affects you, how it affects your community, how it affects your family, and so forth. I think that first portion, that's how I would answer it. Like, you really have to look at both of it and measure it from there. The second portion, I would say, I don't think transgenderism, is that the proper word? Transgenderism? I don't know. But I don't think that's like the main cultural issue. I think the main issue right now culturally is over-sexualization. And that's not really under transgenderism. Y'all, forgive me if I'm saying it wrong. Y'all know I'm not even going to pretend. But I would definitely put like, I feel like the main issue that we're seeing in culture is just over-sexualization. That means like over-sexualization in regards to what we're showing our kids, what we're putting our kids around. That's not necessarily just with transgenders or LGBT. That's just like in general, the stuff that we see on TV, the stuff that's showing on our kids' screens and so forth. It's just everything is so highly and hypersexual. Like our music videos and so forth. I think that is the main issue in culture, in my opinion. But then again, it's like, how do you, because you can censor it to a certain degree. It's really up to the parents to be a parent and not put our children in those circumstances to where they're viewing stuff like that. But you only have so much control. But yeah, that's the second part. I would say that I would disagree with her on that portion, but let's continue.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. It's really nice to be around so many young people.
Yeah, it's great.
Yes, congrats. My name is Yadira Ofarril. I'm not just Republican. I'm very conservative. I am Puerto Rican. So I am Puerto Rican, and I want to know what is the Republican Party and the conservative side doing for the Latino community when you have an island like Puerto Rico that is conservative, even though the people don't think about it. Believe me, we are conservative. And I told everybody that it could be the poster child for the Republican Party, like, you know, we really love the Latino people because the Latinos, we are conservative. What do you think about that?
I do think that there is a recognition
like a
that
nice lady.
Latinos tend to be conservative. I actually do believe that, and it's largely because of your faith. It's a very faithful community. One of my greatest dreams is that as the Democrats try to get a bunch of illegals over the border, I hope that they all go, surprise, we're voting Republican because we're actually conservative, and that would be amazing.
Okay, y'all got. I give her that one. That was low key funny. That was low key
And
funny.
not only that,
Yes.
remember
But-
Puerto Rico is fighting for their statehood. We are talking about an island of Latino,
Yeah. I do-
conservative, looking to be a conservative
Yeah, well,
state.
if you're looking for something and it's not there, build it. I mean, that's really the lesson of Turning Point in general. Charlie Kirk saw that there
I
were
need to
no
put a
conservative
conservative
organizations.
count.
There were
Amount
enough
of times she
conservative
said
organizations on
conservative.
college campuses, and now look at the room that's filled because he was an 18-year-old who actually didn't want to go to college but had a vision of what college campuses might look like if conservative ideals were injected amongst the student body. And so whatever you don't see, build. That's what I always say. That's my advice. That is the spirit of entrepreneurship. Wherever you see
gotta
a
be the
hole,
change you
you
wanna
can build a
see.
building.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello.
Good evening, Ms. Owens. My question is, do you believe that there's a contradiction within the Republican Party
Yes,
on their
many, but go
stance
ahead.
on Ukraine, mainly being that, hey, we shouldn't be involved in Ukraine, versus the Republican Party's stance on Israel, which we are giving full support to?
So what I would say is that amongst the Republican Party in general, the Republican Party is at war, obviously. And that is very evidenced by just what's been going on
I'm
with the
glad he asked
speakership.
that.
I think that things are changing, and what we're seeing right now is an older division of the Republican Party. Nikki Haley's vision, I guess, for the Republican Party as an example, with an American first agenda, which I think Donald Trump brought forth, which is, why are we engaging? Why are we sending billions of dollars overseas for every single cause? Why are we trying to police the world? And by the way, these are good debates to have. I actually love that the Republican Party is at war, and people ask me that question because it means that people are thinking, and we're not just all doing something automated. And so it's good to hear these debates. It's good to flesh out what the right answer is. You have the Rand Pauls, again, versus the not, I guess, Ron DeSantis, but like Mike Pence, a totally different stance on what the Republican Party should be and how we should be impacting the world. The argument that you're talking about is about, liberal internationalism, whether or not we should extend the ideas and the principles of America all over the world, wherever we think that people need our help. I tend to believe and follow a philosophy that I follow in my own home, but if your own house is burning down, how can you offer help to the house next door? So it's an important debate that we're having. I'm glad that we're having the debate, and I very much agree that the Republican Party is not consistent in ideas because we're fighting right now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna be honest. She answered the question, but she didn't answer the full question. Like the entire question. But I see she tread lightly with that question.
Hi, Ms. Owens.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm honored to ask you a question.
Thank you.
I was super excited to hear you talk about being pro-life and how we need to value life. One thing that I didn't hear you talk about, and that I don't hear conservative politicians talk about, is the topic of contraception, and how on one side we say we need to value life, no more abortion, but on the other side, I'm going to value life when I want to, and I'm going to use contraception. What do you think has happened in society there?
So is your opinion, just so I'm clear here, are you pro or anti-contraception?
I'm anti-contraception.
Okay, so Catholics are anti-contraception.
For those who don't know, he's anti-condoms, anti-birth control, anti-anything that can prevent someone from getting pregnant.
Contraception. You didn't hear me talk about it on stage today, but I do have an entire series on the Daily Wire that's on Daily Wire Plus called A Shot in the Dark, where I talk about I am very anti-contraception. I've been permanently pregnant for 3 years. It's probably pretty obvious by now. Every time you see me, I'm pregnant. But there's a lot more reasons.
Wait, I actually need to fact check this. I don't know if condoms is considered. Okay, yeah, it's probably...
That's why I'm anti-contraception, and it's not just because of political ideologies or faith ideologies. Obviously, my house is being led by a devout Catholic, and my husband, but also because of people not knowing what's in it, women that are struggling to have one baby or two babies, everyone having to turn to IVF and science, when just a couple of generations ago they were having like 12 kids in a one-story house, you know what I mean, in a one-bedroom house. And so something is changing in reproductive health that we aren't paying enough attention to. I think there's food that contributes to that. I think that's the stuff that's in our water that contributes to that, but there is no question that the explosion of contraceptives, when you read those inserts, is contributing to reproductive issues for women. So I speak about that at length on my series, A Shot in the Dark, and I'm very passionate about it. Everyone knows Candace is anti-vax for those reasons. My kids are unvaxxed, so I am very much on your side.
That's great to hear.
I'm going to fact check if condoms are considered under that, but I do know birth control is 100%, they're against birth control. But I will say this, me personally, I am against birth control. I don't believe in birth control. I would not put my daughter on birth control, mainly because, not from a religious standpoint, as y'all know I'm Baptist Christian, but mainly because of like birth control it prevents your body from doing what it's naturally supposed to do. So in hindsight, for context and conversation, a lot of women feel like they have to get on birth control. A lot of women feel like that's their only outlet, especially with their period cramps, especially with just using it as a sense of just relief as well. But y'all, birth control it might as well be the devil. I am telling y'all, birth control is not what's up. Do not get on birth control. I've never got on it. I have friends who have been on it, and when I tell you, they was from depression, from mental health, from weight gaining, from periods coming every 3 to 4 months, to like having a period for 2 weeks straight and like losing so much blood. Like, y'all, it's not.
Thank you.
Hello.
Oh, hi. It was nice meeting you earlier.
Very nice meeting you.
So I would like to know, what is your opinion on AI and government, and do you think its impact on government could eventually lead to like a cybercracy? And will our opinion like a cybercracy, like a democracy, but cyber?
A cybercurrency.
Yeah. And do you think in the event that AI could possibly take over, would our opinions even matter at that point? And like, no matter what our truth is?
AI is getting scary. I have done a couple of episodes on the AI that exists there. The ability for you to take my voice from the speech tonight and to call someone and make them think that it's actually me.
They're trying to
makes
replace
us
humans,
all exist
y'all.
permanently in the fog of war. The idea that we don't know what the truth is anymore. We don't know whether something's being doctored by AI and being created for our opinions. And yes, of course, a big element of this is currency, not just real digital currency.
I wasn't like saying currency. I was saying like in government, like democracy, take like literally it taking over.
Democracy.
Yes.
Listen, there's a lot of fears about AI. There's no question, and I don't think that they are displaced. There is a large conversation to be had about it. I'm basically just agreeing with you. Yes, 100%. There's a lot of things that can be happening, and I think that we're seeing it play out in real time, just amongst the news. It is very difficult to sort fact from fiction right now, which puts us in an incredibly problematic state.
Scary.
And yes, then of course,
ban it all.
It's possible that it can actually take over like literally everything.
Do you mean like how far are you talking?
And within the government, like our views, our values, our morals, everything.
Well, I think we're being shaped right now. I mean, it doesn't even have to go so far into artificial intelligence.
I say ban it all. Ban AI. except for ChatGPT, because ChatGPT be writing everybody and their mama's essays. Don't ask how I know that. No, I'm just kidding. Or am I? But no, all jokes aside, ban AI, y'all. We gotta ban it. We gotta take it away. It's screaming demonic. Like, I know I say everything's demonic, which pretty much essentially it is. But AI, I do not get good feelings about that. Like, so, whew, take it away.
Episode on my podcast this week about how every woman's face looks the same on Instagram. It's weird. It's like there's an algorithm and every woman wants to look like the algorithm. That's, you know, messing with people's minds. So
like
the answer
filters,
to your
though.
question is it's already taking over our lives in a lot of different ways. And it is the threat of technology, the threat of progress. And Elon Musk has spoken about that extensively. And people that are much smarter than I have gone on Joe Rogan and really done a deep dive on what AI could mean for the future. But it gives me such bad anxiety that I don't really want to talk about it anymore. Yeah, you're terrifying me. Next question, you're terrifying me.
Fear
Thank you so
nothing and
much
no
for
one
your
but
question.
God.
Thank you so much for your question. Were you the one who raised your hand? Yes. Thank you for being here. This, by the way, is the person that raised their hand. The one brave person when I was like, I know you don't like me. So that was awesome.
It's been great to be able to hear a different opinion. You know, and it's great to have that
I
exchange.
love that you did that. And I love that you were brave enough, because we obviously know that people did not like me tonight, but you were like, I'm going to be the one person who raises my
I
hand.
would say not like you, just have a difference of opinion. So
No
it's great to
worries.
hear you, and you've changed my thought pattern on some things.
Thank
But
you.
I do have some questions. So I actually have a two-part question. My first question is, do you actually intend to pursue public office at some point?
Yeah, people always ask me if I'm going to run. Right now I'm running around chasing toddlers, and I love my life. I am so happy every single day. And, you know, until I think there's a need for Candace Owens for president, let's let everybody else try to kill each other, because I got toddlers trying to kill each other at home.
And for my second part of the question, I identify as a lesbian, black, female, and some people might call me a little bit masculine. With your philosophy, tell me, what does my life look like through your eyes?
What is your life look?
Yeah,
Well,
how does your ideology,
yeah.
your philosophy?
So I think one of the
impact my
things
life?
that's interesting to me is that when you're a conservative, especially one that's in the media, people assume that you have no exposure to like a lesbian or a gay person in your own personal life, where, you know, my cousins are lesbian. One of them is a married, now divorced lesbian. The person who is my cousin that does my hair every single day is bisexual. So the idea that I have no exposure to your world or your life, I don't have any foregone conclusions about you because I don't know you. And I think that's really important. A lot of people will try to pigeonhole you because of your identity. They will say, okay, well, you just said that you were lesbian and that you were black, and that's what I was talking about. So that means that you must support transgenderism because we added the letter onto the flag. That's wrong. I don't know you. I'd like to get to know you. I'd like to hear about your ideas. You know, people can become friends on the basis of who they actually are as individuals and not what society is demanding of you based on your sexual preference. So I have no opinion of you other than the fact that you seemed really open-minded tonight, and you were respectful. You stayed here. You showed up to hear me. I'm sure you didn't agree with everything, but I changed your mind on other things, and I think that that's absolutely heroic in today's society.
Y'all, we're gonna stop it there. This was really good. I like this one. I like this one better than the first one, only because like I was more engaged in regards to actually listening and seeing the dynamic of conversations. Obviously, there's like the two girls that she kind of butted heads with. The first girl, I don't think she was actually. The second girl was low-key condescending. I'm not gonna lie to you. But the first girl, I don't think she was actually like rude in a sense. I think she was just like so strong on her point. I don't think she was trying to be like come off as rude or anything like that. But with that being said though, let me know your thoughts on the comments down below. I like this one a lot. I like when we actually get along. Like, even though the other one brings out the views, people like to see feistiness, people like to see people squaring up and fighting and stuff. This brings like, gives me like a sense of reality, a sense of hope that like finally like we can still come together regardless of our backgrounds, regardless if we agree or disagree, but we can have these conversations without like being so combative. So I really, really like this episode. Let me know your thoughts on the comments down below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you're notified whenever the Uruak Nikanga, posts another video or a new video. I said posts. goodness. I can't even talk today, y'all. I've been tripping over my words the entire day. But yeah, road to 5K. Thank y'all all for tuning in. I love y'all all. This is Udoak, connecting people with policy. God bless y'all. Deuces.